Divorced men. When ex begged you to raise lover's baby, how did she react when you refused? Story 1. I got the call at 11:47 p.m. after 3 months of silence. Ethan, please, just listen. Her voice was raw, like she'd been crying so long she forgot how to stop. We'd been divorced 6 weeks. She'd moved straight in with her soulmate, the guy she swore was finally a real man. Now she was pregnant, and he was gone. She met me in the parking lot of our old grocery store like it was a hostage exchange. Hoodie up, hair unwashed, hands shaking. He left. He blocked me. He said he never wanted kids. She swallowed hard. But you've always been good with kids. I didn't answer. I just waited. I'm not asking you to be with me, she rushed. I'm asking you to help me. Raise the baby with me. Put your name on the birth certificate. We can tell people it's yours. No one has to know. That sentence hit like a slap. Not help, not support, a full identity swap, a cover story. I said calmly. No, her face changed instantly, like someone flipped a switch. You're being cruel. I'm being honest. She stepped closer, eyes bright with anger. You're punishing an innocent baby because you hate me. No, I said. I'm refusing to commit fraud because you picked a man who ran. She started sobbing, loud, public, the kind that makes strangers look. Then she hissed through her tears. I knew it. You never loved me. You just loved controlling me. I walked away. 10 minutes later, I had 12 missed calls, then a text. If you don't do this, I'll tell everyone you abused me. By morning, she'd posted a vague Facebook status about surviving monsters. By afternoon, her sister called me to apologize, quietly, because my ex had tried the same threat on her family when they wouldn't help either. The last message I got from my ex was one line, I hope you can live with yourself. I replied, I can. For the first time in years, I can. Story 2. My ex showed up at my job, not the lobby, my floor. I saw her through the glass doors, clutching a diaper bag like a prop in a play she'd rehearsed. We'd been divorced a year. She'd married the guy she cheated with. Everyone told me to move on like it was a button you press. Then she appeared, thinner, eyes hollow, scanning the cubicles like she owned the place. She found me and smiled like we were old friends. Hi, can we talk? Somewhere private. I took her to the conference room because I didn't want security involved. She sat, hands folded, and delivered the pitch like a salesperson. He's not stable, she said about her husband. He gets angry. And I can't do this alone. She nodded toward the diaper bag. The baby needs consistency. You're consistent. I stared at her. That's not my child. I know, she said quickly. But you're the closest thing to a father figure. And legally, she lowered her voice, if you take him, it's better for everyone. I can sign over custody. We can make it clean. Why would I take your husband's baby? Her eyes flashed. Because you owe me. I almost laughed. For what? For wasting my 20s, she snapped. For not giving me the life I wanted. For making me feel small. Her chest heaved like she believed every word. This is your chance to fix it. I pushed my chair back. No. She froze, then leaned forward, voice turning sharp. If you don't take him, I'll tell HR you've been stalking me. I'll say you've been harassing me online. You think they'll believe you? Look at you. Look at me. I stood up and opened the door. We're done. She stormed out, but not before yelling loud enough for half the floor to hear. I hope you're happy when he ends up in foster care. 2 hours later, HR called me in. Luckily, I'd already emailed myself notes as soon as she left, and security had camera footage of her entering without an appointment. A week after that, I got an anonymous message from her husband. She told me you'd take the baby. She said you were desperate. That's when I understood. She wasn't begging because she trusted me. She was begging because she thought I was still weak enough to save her. Story 3. The audacity wasn't the request. It was the location. She asked me at my mother's birthday dinner. We'd been divorced 8 months. I'd promised my mom I'd keep the peace if my ex came because she's still family. And my mom has a soft spot the size of a planet. My ex showed up with store-bought cake and that sweet voice she used when she wanted something. Halfway through dinner, she tapped her glass like she had an announcement. I'm pregnant. Everyone clapped. My mom gasped and started tearing up. Oh, honey. Then my ex looked directly at me. And I wanted you to hear it from me because I need your help. The room went quiet. Forks paused midair. She continued. Ryan left. He said the baby wasn't his problem. Her voice cracked perfectly on cue. But I can't do this alone. And you're a good man. I felt my stomach drop. My mom reached for my hand like she was about to beg on her knees. My ex watched it happen, eyes bright with triumph. She'd brought her request to a room full of witnesses, so I couldn't say no without looking like a villain. Just for a while, she said softly. Just until I get on my feet. You can be the dad. We can co-parent. It'll show everyone you're not the person people think you are. I pulled my hand away. No. My mom's face fell. My ex inhaled sharply like I'd punched her. You're really doing this, she whispered, in front of everyone. I stood up, voice steady. You don't get to ambush me at my mother's dinner and ask me to raise the child you made with the man you chose over me. My ex's tears disappeared instantly. So you admit you're bitter. I admit I have boundaries. She spun toward the table, voice suddenly loud. Did you all hear that? He'd rather watch a baby suffer than be a man. My uncle muttered, that's not his kid. She pointed at him. Stay out of it. Then she looked at my mom and said coldly, guess your son doesn't have the heart you raised him with. My mom started crying. My ex smiled like she'd won something. I left. The next day, my mom called and apologized for letting my ex use her home as a stage. And my ex? She posted online that night, some men only love you when you're convenient. That's the part that still makes me laugh. She thought refusing to be used was the same as not loving. Story 4. I didn't even know she had a baby until the envelope arrived. No return address. Just my name, my apartment, and a stack of printed photos inside. Newborn in a hospital blanket, my ex smiling weakly, and a man's hand in one picture, cropped out at the wrist like a crime scene. On top was a letter. I need you to do the right thing. He's not in the picture. You were always meant to be a father. Please meet me. I met her in a coffee shop because I needed answers. She walked in pushing a stroller like she'd been doing it forever. She sat across from me and started talking before I could. I didn't tell you because I was scared you'd judge me. Judge you for what? I asked. She stared at her cup. For choosing wrong. There it was. She launched into a story about her new relationship, turning abusive, about him vanishing when she told him she was pregnant, about her being so alone. Then she said, I want you to adopt him. I blinked. Adopt? Yes, she said, as if it were normal. You're stable. You have a good job. You always wanted kids. I wanted kids with my wife, I said flatly. Not as a cleanup crew. Her eyes flashed. He deserves a father. Then find his father. She slammed her palm on the table. The baby stirred. People stared. You're heartless. You're just like my dad. I leaned forward. Don't do that. Don't turn this into a childhood trauma speech so you can manipulate me. Her face tightened, and she dropped her voice to a whisper. If you say no, I'll tell people you're the father anyway. I'll tell my family. I'll tell your job. Do you want rumors? Do you want the hassle? I sat back. Try it. That surprised her. She'd expected me to panic. I pulled out my phone and said, if you keep threatening me, I'm recording. Her eyes widened. Then she hissed. You wouldn't. I would, I said. And I'll file for a restraining order if you don't stop contacting. She grabbed the stroller like she was going to flee, then turned back with venom in her voice. You think you're winning. You're not. One day you'll be alone and you'll regret this. She left so fast she nearly clipped a chair. 2 weeks later, I got another envelope, this time from her mother. It said, please ignore her. She tried the same thing with my brother. We're getting her help. That's when it clicked. She wasn't looking for a father. She was looking for an exit. Story 5. Her boyfriend showed up at my door first. That was the twist. I opened it and saw a man I'd never met, holding a plastic folder like a salesman. Are you Mark? He asked. Yeah. He exhaled like he'd rehearsed. I'm Jason. I need to talk to you about Emily, my ex-wife. We sat on my porch while he flipped through papers, ultrasound images, a printout of a lease, a budget spreadsheet, like he was presenting a business plan. She said you'd help, he said. I actually laughed. She said what? Jason looked confused. She said you still care. She said you'd step up. She told me you always wanted a family and you'd do anything to keep her safe. I felt my skin go cold. She's pregnant? He nodded. She told me it might be mine, but then she said it could be complicated. He swallowed. Then she said the easiest solution is if you agree to raise the baby as yours. That way she doesn't have to deal with paternity drama, and he gestured helplessly. I'm not ready, but somehow ready to knock her up. Before I could respond, my ex appeared around the corner, walking fast like she'd been listening. There you are, she chirped, as if this was a casual meetup. See? I told you he'd talk. I stood up. Are you out of your mind? She waved a hand. Don't be dramatic. We're adults. We can make this work. Jason looked between us. So, you'll do it? I stared at my ex. No, I'm not raising your lover's baby. Her smile snapped. Mark, don't embarrass me. You embarrassed yourself? I said. You set me up with your boyfriend at my door like a negotiation. Jason frowned. Wait, you didn't know I was coming? My ex's eyes flickered. The mask slipped for half a second. I told you to keep it simple, she hissed at him. Jason's face changed. You said you had permission. She turned back to me, voice sharp. Fine. If you won't raise the baby, at least sign something saying you'll contribute. You have money. I know you do. Jason's eyebrows shot up. You told me you didn't want money. My ex's jaw tightened. Shut up. That's when Jason stood up and backed away like he'd just realized he'd walked into a trap. This is insane, he muttered. You lied to both of us. My ex lunged after him, grabbing his sleeve. Don't leave me too. Not now. Jason pulled free. I'm not your plan B. He left. My ex turned on me, shaking with rage. You ruined everything. I looked her dead in the eyes. No. You tried to rent out my life to cover your mistakes. I just declined the offer. She screamed at me on my porch until my neighbor opened a window. Then she stormed off, yelling over her shoulder, enjoy dying alone. And the quiet after she left was the most peaceful sound I'd heard since the divorce. Story 6. She called from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't pick up until I heard her voice shaking. Please don't hang up. I need 5 minutes. We'd been divorced 9 months. She'd remarried fast, posted the ring like a trophy, and captioned it, when you finally meet a real man. I remember because my sister sent it to me with a single skull emoji. Now she was whispering like someone could hear her through the phone. He left. He took his stuff and vanished. I'm pregnant. I said nothing. You were always good, she rushed. You have a house. A steady job. She inhaled. You can raise the baby. I'll do everything. I just need you to be the father. I finally spoke. It's not mine. I know. Her voice cracked, then hardened. But you owe me for wasting years of my life. That made me laugh. One short, ugly laugh. You cheated, and you forgave me before, she snapped. So you can forgive me again. No. Silence. Then her tone turned sweet, rehearsed. If you say no, you're choosing to abandon a child. Do you want to be that kind of man? I'm choosing not to sign up for your consequences. She started crying loudly, like she wanted the sound to guilt me through the speaker. I'll tell everyone you promised. I'll tell your mom. I'll tell our friends you're refusing to help your family. You can tell whoever you want. That's when she hissed. Then I'll put your name on the birth certificate anyway. Let's see how much you like court. I'd already expected that. Go ahead, I said. I'll request a DNA test, and I'll ask the judge to sanction you for fraud. The crying stopped instantly. Like a faucet. You think you're smart? She whispered. You think you're untouchable? No, I said. I just stopped being scared of you. She hung up. 2 days later, my mother called, furious, at her. Apparently, my ex had shown up with ultrasound photos and a sob story. My mom told her, my son isn't your lifeboat. I didn't realize I could feel relief and pride at the same time until that moment. Story 7. I ran into her at the courthouse, of all places, because I was there for jury duty. She sat on a bench by the elevators. Huge sunglasses. Hands wrapped around a water bottle like it was the last solid thing in her life. When she saw me, she stood up too fast. God sent you, she blurted. Or the county, I said. She laughed nervously, then immediately got serious. I'm here for a family matter. I need you to help me. I should have walked away. Instead, I asked, what happened? He filed for custody, she said. Not because he wants the baby, because he wants to hurt me. She swallowed. So I need a father who looks stable on paper. I blinked. You want to use me in court? It's not like that, she said quickly. I'm asking you to adopt her. If you're the legal father, he can't touch us. Us? I repeated. You mean you and the baby you made with him? Her eyes flashed behind the sunglasses. Don't say it like that. Like what? Like reality? She grabbed my arm. Please. You always said you wanted kids. This is your chance. I pulled my arm free. My chance to be your shield. Her voice rose. You'd rather let him win? I'd rather not make myself responsible for a child that isn't mine just so you can win against the guy you chose. She ripped off the sunglasses, and her eyes were wild. Angry. Scared. Desperate. You're punishing me. I'm protecting myself, I said. She leaned in, low and vicious. If you don't help, I'll tell the court you were abusive when we were married. I'll say you threatened me. They'll believe a pregnant woman over a divorced man. I stared at her, and I didn't flinch. Do it, I said, and I'll hand them the texts where you begged me to commit paternity fraud. Her face went pale. A court officer nearby glanced over, and she snapped the sunglasses back on like armor. She backed away, voice trembling. You're disgusting. I watched her walk into the elevator, alone. When my name got called for jury duty, the clerk smiled and said, Good morning. For the first time, it actually was. Story 8. She didn't beg at first. She negotiated. She invited me to lunch like we were two adults closing out the last chapter peacefully. She even wore the same perfume she used to wear on dates. Like scent could rewrite history. I've been thinking about us, she said, stirring her iced tea. I said, We're divorced. I know, she smiled. But we're still connected. Then she slid a folder across the table. Inside, A custody proposal, a budget, and a handwritten note that said, "You can be his dad. He deserves you." I stared at the paper. "This is your lover's baby." She nodded, eyes shining like she expected applause. "But you'd be perfect. And I'll make it easy. I won't ask for much. We can tell people you stepped up. Everyone will respect you. Respect me for lying? For being a man," she corrected. I pushed the folder back. "No." Her smile held for 2 seconds, then cracked. "Don't be childish." "Childish?" I pointed at the folder. "You're offering me a child like a subscription plan." She leaned forward. "Listen, if you agree, I won't ask for alimony modifications. I won't fight you on the house stuff. I'll make your life smooth." There it was. A trade. I said, "So it's blackmail." "It's compromise," she snapped. I stood up. "My answer is no." She grabbed my wrist. "Then at least sign as psychological father. You were in his life for a few months. It counts." "It doesn't," I said, pulling away. "And even if it did, I'm not doing it." Her eyes went cold. "Fine. But don't come crying when everyone finds out what kind of man you are." I turned to leave. She called after me, loud enough for nearby tables to hear, "He's refusing to help a baby." People stared at me like I'd kicked a puppy. I paused, looked back, and said calmly, "He's refusing to help because the baby's father should." Her face twisted. "He's gone." "Then you should have thought about that," I said, and walked out. That night, she posted a vague rant about men who abandon children. Within an hour, her own cousin commented, "Stop lying. He isn't the dad." She deleted the whole post, then blocked me. Best gift she ever gave me. Story 9. I found out she was pregnant because my ex-mother-in-law showed up at my apartment with a casserole. That woman hated me during the marriage. She blamed me for every problem her daughter created. So seeing her on my doorstep, eyes red, holding baked food like a peace offering, made my stomach drop. "She's in trouble," she said. "Please, let me talk." I let her in. "She's pregnant," her mom whispered. "And the man, he left. She's spiraling." I waited. "She keeps saying you'll save her," her mom continued. "That you'll take the baby and make it right." I laughed once, bitter. "Make what right?" Her mom's shoulders sagged. I know it's not fair. But she won't hear it from me. She thinks you still love her enough to fix this." That's when my ex called. Perfect timing. Like she knew her mom was here. I put it on speaker. "Hey," my ex said softly, fake calm. "I heard mom visited. So you know." "I know," I said. "Good," she breathed. "Then we can talk like adults. I'm keeping the baby, but I need a father. You can be that. You always said you wanted a family." "I wanted a family with my wife," I said. "Not with someone who replaced me before the divorce papers were cold." Her voice sharpened. "Don't do that. Don't shame." "I'm not shaming you. I'm refusing." Silence. Then she exploded. "You're selfish. You'd rather be right than be a man." Her mom covered her mouth, eyes wide. My ex kept going, faster and nastier. "You're going to let a baby suffer because you can't get over your ego," I said, steady. "I'm not signing my life away to clean up your mess." She screamed, "I'll tell everyone you begged me for a kid," and then ran. Her mom flinched like she'd been slapped. I didn't raise my voice. "Tell whoever you want. The truth won't change." Her mom leaned toward the phone and finally snapped, "Enough. Stop humiliating yourself." My ex went quiet. Then, in a small, shaking voice, she said, "Mom, you're supposed to be on my side." Her mom replied, "I'm on the side of reality." My ex hung up. Her mom looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "I'm sorry I ever blamed you. I didn't even know I needed to hear that until it happened." Story 10. She tried a different tactic. She brought the baby. I was leaving the gym when I saw her in the parking lot, standing next to her car with a carrier in her hands. She looked exhausted, but she'd put effort into her makeup. Like she wanted me to see strong single mom, not crisis. "Can we talk?" she asked, already walking toward me. I glanced at the carrier. The baby's tiny fists were moving in slow, sleepy jerks. My chest tightened despite myself. "Not here," I said. "It has to be," she replied. "Because you keep avoiding me." I crossed my arms. "What do you want?" She lifted the carrier slightly, like presenting evidence. "Meet him." "I'm not his father," I said. "But you could be," she whispered. "Look at him. He needs you." I didn't move. Her eyes filled. "I'm drowning. I don't sleep. I don't eat. His dad vanished. You're the only man I ever trusted." I swallowed the anger. "You didn't trust me when you cheated." Her expression twisted. "I made a mistake." "A mistake is forgetting an anniversary," I said. "Not building a whole new life and then begging me to sponsor it." She stepped closer, voice turning sharp. "If you refuse, you're abandoning him." "No," I said. "You're trying to assign him to me." The baby made a small sound, and she flinched, then suddenly snapped, "Fine. I'll make it easy. Just give me your last name. Just sign. You don't even have to be involved." I stared at her. So you want my name and my money? Her cheeks flushed. I want security. You want a mask, I said. A respectable label to cover the fact that your lover ran. She trembled. And for a second she looked like she might actually break. Then the rage took over. You think you're so perfect, she spat. One day you'll beg for a family and no one will choose you. I leaned in, voice low. And one day, your son will ask who his father is. What are you going to tell him? That you tried to force the wrong man to pay for the right one's cowardice? Her face collapsed. Shock, then fury. She turned, shoved the carrier into the car and slammed the door hard enough to make the baby start crying. She peeled out of the parking lot like I'd chased her with a weapon. I stood there, shaking, not from guilt. From the realization that she was willing to use even his tears as a bargaining chip. Story 11. She didn't call me first. She called my boss. I found out because my manager pulled me aside after our Monday meeting and said, "Everything okay at home?" He looked uncomfortable, like he'd been handed a live grenade. I asked why. He hesitated. A woman called asking for you. Said she was your ex-wife. Said there was a baby. She sounded upset. My stomach dropped. I hadn't spoken to my ex in months. That night I got the real message. We need to talk. It's urgent. Please don't ignore me. I agreed to meet in a public place. She showed up with swollen eyes and a folder in her hand. Always a folder with her. Like paperwork makes lies look official. I didn't mean to call your job, she said quickly. I panicked. About what? I asked. She exhaled. He's gone. The baby's father. He disappeared. I can't do this alone. Then she added, like it was the punchline. But you can. You're stable, I said. No, she blinked like she hadn't heard me. You didn't even ask details. I don't need details. Her voice rose. It's just temporary. Foster care is a nightmare. You'd rather a child go into the system than help? I kept my tone even. You should ask his family, his friends. He has nobody, she snapped. And you have everything. A house, savings, a clean record. There it was. She wasn't asking for love. She was shopping for a resume. I said, "Stop calling my job." Her face hardened. So that's it? You're going to let me suffer? You're trying to make me suffer with you, I replied. She leaned forward, eyes shiny but cold. If you refuse, I'll tell people you promised to raise him. I'll tell them you abandoned me when I needed you most. I smiled, just a little. Do it. I'll tell them why. She stared, realizing the old threats didn't work anymore. Then she stood so fast her chair scraped. You're disgusting, she hissed. You're worse than him. I watched her walk away and I thought, at least the man who ran didn't pretend he was a hero. Story 12. She staged an accidental meeting at church. I'm not even religious. I started going because my grandfather died, and it was the only place that felt quiet. The second Sunday I went, I saw her in the aisle like a ghost from a past life. She smiled like we were about to reconcile. Hi, I didn't know you came here. I didn't answer. I just nodded and sat. After the service, she cornered me by the doors, hands folded like she was praying. Can we talk for a minute? I said. Make it quick. She glanced around at the families, the babies, the old women hugging grandchildren. I'm pregnant, she whispered, and he left. I stared at her. Why are you telling me here? She gave a sad little laugh. Because here you remember what matters. Then she said it. I need you to raise the baby. I almost laughed again, but it wasn't funny. No. Her face tightened. Then she forced her voice softer. I've changed. I'm trying to do better. Don't punish the baby for my mistakes. I pointed toward the parking lot. Not here. But she stepped closer, loud enough that a few people turned their heads. Please don't do this. Don't make me beg. You're literally begging. Tears flooded her eyes perfectly on cue. You promised me once you'd always take care of me. I promised a wife, I said, not an ex with a stranger's child. A woman nearby paused, watching like it was a scene in a movie. My ex noticed and leaned into it. You can't just abandon us, she cried. I kept my voice calm and clear. It isn't my baby. The watching faces shifted. A few eyebrows went up. My ex froze, realizing she'd just lost control of the narrative. She grabbed my sleeve and whispered through clenched teeth, How dare you humiliate me in public? I peeled her hand off. You chose the stage. She stormed off, wiping tears that suddenly looked less real. Later that day she texted, God sees what you did. I replied, so do the people you tried to manipulate. Story 13. She asked me to sign just one paper. That's how she phrased it when she showed up at my apartment with a notary. A notary? On a Wednesday? Like she was serving subpoenas. I opened the door and saw her standing there in a nice coat, mascara perfect, and a middle-aged woman holding a stamp case. My ex smiled brightly. Hi, this will be fast. I looked at the notary. What is this? My ex said, a simple acknowledgement. Temporary guardianship. Just until I'm settled. I didn't even step aside. No. Her smile wobbled. You haven't even read it. I don't need to. She thrust the paper forward. It's for emergencies only. If something happens to me, the baby won't go to the state. You'll just be listed as... As what? I asked. She swallowed. As guardian of your lover's baby, I said. The notary shifted uncomfortably. My ex's cheeks reddened. Don't say it like that. You're making it sound ugly. It is ugly. She lowered her voice, suddenly frantic. I can't put his name. He's not answering. I don't have his address. I have nothing. You're the only person who can... Stop, I said. You brought a stranger to my door to pressure me. That tells me everything. Her eyes flashed. She turned to the notary and forced a laugh. He's emotional. Give us a second. Then she hissed at me. If you don't sign, I'll tell everyone you threw a mother and baby out in the cold. I shrugged. Tell them. I'll tell them you showed up with a notary to trap me. The notary's eyebrows rose, like she'd just realized she was in the wrong house. Ma'am, she said carefully, if he's refusing, we should stop. My ex snapped. You're useless. The notary quietly packed her stamp case and left. My ex stood on my porch, breathing hard, eyes burning. You're going to regret this, I said. No, I'm going to sleep. She walked away, and I shut the door before she could find another angle. Story Chhatrapatsmit. She tried to get me through my friends. I knew something was up when my buddy Chris invited me out for a beer and wouldn't meet my eyes. We sat down, and before I even opened my menu, he said, Man, don't be mad. I leaned back. What did you do? He sighed. She reached out. Your ex. She's pregnant. Dude, she's in a bad place. I stared. And she called you because... Chris rubbed his forehead. She said you'd listen to me. She said you're stubborn, but you're a good guy. I felt the anger rise slowly. So this is an intervention. Chris held up his hands. I didn't agree at first. But she cried, bro. She said the father ran, and she has no one. She said if I just what? I asked. Chris's voice got small. If you just helped raise the baby. I laughed, sharp. Are you serious? He flinched. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying she's desperate. I leaned forward. Tell me what else she said. Chris hesitated. She said you wanted kids. She said you'd be proud to step up. She said, and I'm just telling you. She said you still love her. That did it. The manipulation wasn't just targeted at me. It was spreading. I stood up. Chris, if you ever let her use you like this again, we're done. He blinked. Wait, so you're not going to help? No, I said. And if she contacts you again, send her my lawyer's number. That night, I texted my whole friend group one message. If she asks you to talk to me about the baby, don't. It's not mine. And I'm not being pressured into anything. Within minutes, 2 guys replied, she already tried. One sent a screenshot of her message. He owes me. He can't abandon us. My stomach turned. She was building a narrative like a campaign. So I blocked her everywhere. And for the first time, my friends saw the side of her I'd been warning them about. Story 15. She offered me a deal that made my skin crawl. We met at a park because she said she couldn't be seen arguing in public places. She looked tired but determined, like she'd decided desperation was a strategy. I'll make this easy, she said. If you agree to raise the baby, I won't ask you for anything else. I stared. Anything else? She nodded. No court, no drama, no fights over the last of our assets. We can be peaceful, so you're using the baby as leverage, I said. She rolled her eyes. Don't make it ugly. I took a breath. The baby isn't mine. I know, she snapped, but biology isn't everything. Love is. And you love being the good guy. That line was so sharp it almost impressed me. She'd found my weak spot and stabbed at it. I'm not doing this, I said. Her face went blank. Why? Because it's not my responsibility, I replied. Because you're not asking out of love. You're asking out of convenience. She stared at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. Then she whispered, if you refuse, I'll have to tell people the truth. I frowned. What truth? She smiled. Small, cruel. That you begged me for a baby for years and I said no. That you were the one who wanted this. That you're rejecting it now because you're petty. I laughed. Slow. You think that sounds believable? Her smile faded. People believe women. I leaned in. Then say it, and I'll show them the messages where you called the baby a problem and asked me to fix it. Her eyes widened. She hadn't expected me to have receipts. She stood up, shaking. You're evil. I stayed seated. No, I'm done. She walked away fast, shoulders tight, like she was holding back a scream. And I watched her go, realizing the hardest part wasn't refusing her. It was admitting that the woman I married would have sold my entire future just to avoid facing her own choices. Story 16. I found out she was pregnant because a process server handed me papers at my mailbox like I was being sued for existing. The documents weren't a lawsuit yet. They were a notice of intended paternity claim. My ex's name was on every page. My name was on every line where a father's name should have been. I called her immediately. "What is this?" She answered like she'd been waiting. "It's just to protect the baby." "It's not mine." "I know," she said, almost bored. "But you're the only one who won't disappear." My hands were shaking. "Remove my name." She sighed dramatically. "The real father won't respond. If I put unknown, the court will drag me through hell. If I put you, it's clean. You're responsible. You're safe. So you filed legal paperwork to force me." "It's not forcing," she snapped. "It's reality. You were my husband. You benefited from my best years. Now it's your turn to be decent. I actually had to sit down. You cheated and left, and you survived," she said coldly. "Congratulations. Now help." "No." Silence. Then her voice turned sugary. "Okay, if you won't be involved, just sign a voluntary acknowledgement and pay support. You don't have to meet him. We can pretend," I said. "You want me to pay for your lover's kid and never speak about it?" "Yes," she replied, like that was the most reasonable thing in the world. "It's called being a man." I hung up and called an attorney. Within 48 hours, my lawyer filed a response demanding immediate genetic testing and warning her about sanctions for knowingly false claims. The next time she called, she wasn't crying. She was furious. "Why did you bring lawyers into this?" I laughed. "Because you brought paperwork to my mailbox," she hissed. "You think you won. I think you finally met someone who says no." A week later, the claim vanished. Withdrawn. No apology, no explanation. Just a final text. "I hope you choke on your peace." And for the first time, I realized peace really does feel like air after years of drowning. Story 17. She sent me a voice note instead of a text, because she knew hearing her cry used to make me fold. "Mark, please. I'm scared. I'm in the ER. The baby's okay, but I need you." I stared at my phone, heart racing before my brain caught up. We'd been divorced almost 2 years. Her emergencies weren't my emergencies anymore. Still, I called back. "What happened?" She sniffed. "Stress." I fainted. "They said I need support. Someone has to be here when I give birth." "Call your family," I said. "My mom says she can't take off work." My friend stopped answering. She swallowed. "And he's gone." There it was. Her lover, the hero who vanished. Then she dropped it softly. "Can you just be the father? Just on paper. I don't want him on the certificate. I want you." "Why?" I asked. "Because you're dependable," she whispered. "Because you won't hurt me." I exhaled. "You're not asking for love. You're asking for insurance." She went quiet. Then her voice sharpened. "Wow. So you do hate me." "I don't hate you," I said. "I just won't be trapped." She started crying harder. "Do you want me to do this alone? Do you want the baby to have nothing?" I paused. "If the baby needs something, contact a social worker. Contact your family. This isn't my role." Her tone flipped. Instant rage. "You're punishing a child. You're sick," I said. "Stop using the baby as a weapon." Then she whispered, venomous, "If you don't step up, I'll tell people you got me pregnant and bailed." I didn't even argue. I just said, "Send that lie in writing." She froze. "What?" "Send it in writing," I repeated. "Because that's when you'll realize how stupid it sounds." She hung up. 2 hours later, a nurse called my number. "Sir, your wife listed you as her emergency contact." I told the nurse calmly. "She's not my wife. Please remove me from her file." That was the moment it hit me. She wasn't begging for help. She was trying to assign me a job I never applied for. Story 18. She came to my sister's house, not mine, because she knew my sister has a soft heart and a big mouth. My sister called me in a panic. "She's here. She's crying. She says it's serious." I drove over, already angry. I walked in and found my ex on the couch holding a baby blanket like a prop. No baby in sight, just the symbol. She jumped up when she saw me. "Thank God." I didn't sit. "What are you doing here?" She looked at my sister, then back at me. I needed someone safe. Someone who understands. My sister whispered, "She's pregnant." My ex nodded quickly. "And I can't do it alone. He's gone. He said the baby would ruin his life." She wiped a tear. "I don't want my child to grow up without a father. You can be that. You already know my family. We already have history." I stared. "You're asking me to raise your lover's baby." She flinched like I'd insulted her. "Don't say it like that. Say it correctly then." She swallowed, then tried the sweetest voice she had. "Just help until I'm stable. Please. I'll make you look like a hero." My sister glanced at me like she was about to plead. I said calmly, "No." My ex's face drained. "You're really going to do this in front of her?" I nodded. "Yes." She turned to my sister, voice cracking loudly on purpose. "See? He's always been like this. Cold. He doesn't care if a baby suffers." That was the play. Recruit my sister, shame me, rewrite the story. My sister surprised both of us. She stood up and said, "Stop. Don't manipulate me." My ex blinked. "Excuse me?" My sister pointed at the blanket. "You didn't even bring an ultrasound. You brought a blanket because you wanted us to imagine the baby and feel guilty." My ex's mouth opened, then closed. Rage rose in her eyes. "So you're on his side." "I'm on the side of boundaries," my sister said. My ex snatched the blanket and stormed out, slamming the door so hard a picture rattled. In the silence, my sister looked at me and said, "I'm sorry I ever thought she was the victim," and I realized refusing her wasn't just saving me. It was finally exposing her. Story 19. She didn't ask me directly. She sent me a co-parenting app invitation like we already had a child together. I got an email. "You've been added to Baby Connect by X's name." There was a calendar with appointments, a feeding schedule, and a tab labeled Child Support. I thought it was a mistake until she texted, "Download it. It'll keep things organized." I replied, "Organized for who? That's not my baby." She wrote back immediately, "Not biologically, but emotionally, you can be." So I called her. "Are you insane?" She spoke fast like she'd practiced. "I'm not insane. I'm practical. I need consistency. I need a father figure. You're good at routines." "You're describing a babysitter," I said. She ignored that. "If you refuse, the baby's father's family will get involved. They'll fight me. They're trash. You can protect us." "Us," I repeated. "Always us." Her voice sharpened. "Stop acting like you're above this. You don't have kids. You don't have anyone. This gives you purpose." That sentence landed like a punch, because it wasn't just manipulation. It was contempt. I said quietly, "You think I'm empty enough to accept your leftovers?" She went silent for half a second, then pivoted. "I'm offering you a family." "No," I said. "You're offering me a liability." She started crying on cue. "You're so cruel. I knew you'd abandon me when I needed you most." I exhaled. "Remove me from the app. If you don't, my attorney will send a cease and desist." Her crying stopped instantly. "You're threatening me? I'm setting a boundary," she whispered, vicious. "Fine. But when everyone asks why you refused a child who needed you, I'll tell them the truth." "What truth?" I asked. She hissed. "That you're selfish. That you only loved yourself." I said. "Tell them whatever you want, but remove me." She didn't, so my lawyer did the talking. 2 days later, the invitation disappeared and she blocked me everywhere. It was almost funny. She tried to assign me fatherhood through an app update. Like my life was a setting she could toggle. Story 20. The last time she tried, she didn't come alone. She brought her pastor. I opened my door and saw her standing behind a man in a collar. She looked small, humble, rebuilt for sympathy. The pastor smiled warmly. "Hello. We're here to talk about forgiveness and responsibility." I felt my jaw tighten. "This is inappropriate." My ex clasped her hands. "Please, just hear us. It's not about us. It's about the baby." I didn't invite them in, so we stood on my porch like it was a public hearing. The pastor said, "Sometimes a man is called to step into a role he didn't expect." My ex nodded, tears already forming. He left me. I was stupid. I know, but you can make something good out of it. You can be his father. I stared at her. "Why are you doing this with an audience?" she whispered. "Because you only listen when someone holds you accountable." That was rich, coming from someone who dodged accountability like a sport. I looked at the pastor. "She wants me to sign legal responsibility for a child that isn't mine." The pastor's smile faltered. "Is that accurate?" My ex cut in quickly. "He's stable. He has a good heart. He can provide. And the baby deserves a dad," I said calmly. "No." My ex's tears spilled, and she grabbed the pastor's arm. "See? He's hard. He's bitter." The pastor hesitated, then asked me, "Is there any chance you might reconsider, for the child's sake?" I nodded once. "Sure, if the father is identified, and if there's a legal way for me to help without fraud." My ex snapped, "He won't. He's gone." I answered, "Then find him. That's your responsibility." Her face twisted, the mask slipping. "You're enjoying this?" I leaned closer, voice low. "I'm enjoying saying no." The pastor cleared his throat, uncomfortable. "Perhaps we should focus on realistic support options. Community resources, family assistance." My ex whipped around on him. "So you're not going to make him do it?" The pastor blinked. "Ma'am, I can't make anyone." And right there, on my porch, she showed her real self. Not a repentant woman seeking grace, but a person who wanted a man in a collar to pressure me into signing my life away. She stormed off, shouting over her shoulder, "You'll answer for this." The pastor stayed a second, embarrassed. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I didn't understand the full context," I replied. Neither did she. She thought guilt was a contract. Then I went back inside and closed the door. Finally, completely. Story 21. She tried to get me at my weakest hour, 2:13 a.m. 3 missed calls, then a text. I'm outside. Please. I can't do this alone. I looked out the window and saw her car at the curb, hazards blinking like an emergency beacon. I told myself not to go down, that it wasn't my problem. But old habits are stubborn, and guilt is a liar with perfect timing. I stepped outside in sweats. She was in the driver's seat, face blotchy, mascara streaked. No baby, just her, shaking hands on the wheel. He's gone, she whispered through the cracked window. Completely. I'm pregnant and he vanished. I don't have anyone. I kept my voice flat. Why are you here? She swallowed. Because you're the only man who ever cared about me. That's not true, I said. You just burned bridges. She flinched, then pushed harder. I need you to help. Raise the baby. You don't even have to be with me. We can live separately. Just be his dad. I didn't answer fast enough and she took that as hope. She reached across the passenger seat and pulled out an envelope. I already drafted something. It's not official, just a plan. If you sign, I can breathe. I didn't take it. No. Her face tightened. You didn't read it. I don't need to. She slammed the envelope against the steering wheel. So you're just going to let me suffer? You're trying to make me responsible for your suffering, I replied. Her eyes narrowed. You're not a real man. I laughed once, quietly. There it is. She leaned forward, voice low and nasty. If you refuse, I'll go to your parents. I'll tell them you left your pregnant wife in the street. I didn't blink. You're not my wife. She stared like she expected me to flinch. When I didn't, her mouth trembled. Anger and fear fighting for control. Please, she whispered, suddenly soft again. I'll do anything. I looked at her, and I believed her. That was the scariest part. I'm going back inside, I said. Don't come here again. As I turned, she shouted, You'll regret this when you realize nobody will ever love you like I did. I stopped, glanced back, and said calmly, That's why I'm saying no. Story 22. She sent me a baby registry link. Not a message. Not an apology. A link. I clicked it by accident while clearing notifications. It opened to a full list. Crib, stroller, bottles, diapers. Then, right at the top, bold, co-parent contribution. Goal, $4,000. I stared, stunned. And then my phone buzzed. Her text, pick something from the list. It'll make you feel involved. I called her. What the hell is this? She sounded upbeat, like we were planning a vacation. It's practical. You're good at practical. It's not my baby. I know, she said, like she was correcting a minor detail. But you're the one with the resources. The father's gone. So this is the next best thing. The next best thing is you asking your family. They're tired of me, she snapped, then immediately softened. I'm tired too. Please. I exhaled. No. Her voice went sharp. So you're refusing to buy diapers for a baby. I'm refusing to be manipulated. She laughed, bitter. You always call it manipulation when you don't want to do something, because that's what it is. Then she played her strongest card. I'll tell people you promised me children for years and now you're punishing me because I finally got one. I said, tell them. Then I'll post the registry link and ask them why you're crowdfunding fatherhood from your ex. Silence. I could hear her breathing, the calculation. She muttered, You're obsessed with being right, I replied. And you're obsessed with making someone else pay. She hung up. The next day, mutual friends started messaging me. Hey, did you get a weird baby registry link? Turns out she'd blasted it to everyone. Old coworkers, college friends, even my aunt. When people asked who the father was, she wrote, complicated. And for once, complicated didn't mean mysterious. It meant shame.